This week is Shabbos Parshas Porah, so we will be taking out from the Aron Kodesh on Shabbat 2 Sefer Torah, one to read the Parsha of the week Kisisa, and then we will read Parshas Porah Duma, which is where the Torah describes the mitzvah, the commandment to have a red heifer, sacrifice the red heifer, whole process, and then eventually the ashes with water is sprinkled on people who were impure for whatever impure activities, coming in contact with death, etc. And that's how they become purified. So since this is this week's Torah reading, the Haftorah is focused on the prophecy of Yechezkel chapter 16, verses 35 and on, where there the Torah speaks about the purification of people, where the prophecy says about the exile, the reason for the exiles, but God's promise that ultimately I will purify you, I will take you out of this bondage with the coming of Mashiach, which would then you will have the ultimate purity. And God also says over there, the reason why I'm doing it, say to the Jewish people, this is what God says. I'm not doing it just for you. I'm doing this for what? For the name of God. And for His name, I will take you out from the nations. And I will gather you from all the countries and will bring you into your own land. And then it says, I will sprinkle upon you the pure water so that you should become completely pure. And the reason He says, because we are one with Him, and therefore God is doing it. So in reality, we have over here the sprinkling of the water, the purity which comes from the sprinkling of the water at a special time, the time of Mashiach. But says Rabbi Akiva, Ma mikveh Yisrael metayir eschem, kach ani metayir eschem. Just like mikveh, immersing oneself in the mikveh is purifying ourselves from our impurities, taking away our abominations, so too God is purifying us. So there is two levels of purity. There's the level of purity through mikveh, and then there is the level of purity when God Himself purifies us, which, as we said, is the ultimate time of Geula. Why there's two levels? So what Rabbi Akiva is teaching us, when someone unfortunately has a number of different sins, but for some reason is incapable of repenting, regretting all his sins at the beginning of the process. Doesn't have the time, doesn't have the energy, doesn't have the understanding, doesn't have the know-how, whatever the reason is. One should not think that it is a useless activity. Every little bit that we purify ourselves, every immersion, so to say, in the mikveh is a little purification, is valuable, says God, it is appreciated. And as the Gemara brings in Benazai, mitzvah gereres mitzvah, one mitzvah will bring on to another mitzvah. One purification will help to purify further. And in fact, we find this again further in the Haftorah, where the Torah says, "V'nesati lechem leiv chadosh, v'ruach chadosh etin b'kirbecha, v'asiroisi es leiv even mibsarchem v'nesati lechem leiv basar." I will take away your heart of stone, and I will give you a heart of flesh. So this is referring to what? To the ultimate. But in the meantime, every step we do is what Rabbi Akiva says, it purifies us. Talking about the red heifer, it's important to point out an important message that Rambam gives us subtly. And the Rebbe points out that in the Hilchos of Rambam, in chapter 3 of Porah Duma, the Rambam relates how the first Porah Duma, the first red heifer, was prepared by Moshe Rabbeinu. The second one was done by Ezra. 7 others were prepared till the destruction of the second temple. And the Rambam continues, and the 10th will be brought by Moshiach. And he says, Mehera yigale amen ken yiratzen. May he speedily be revealed. Amen, may it be God's will. The Rebbe asks a question. The Rambam is not a book of history, and certainly not a prayer book. Why is he telling us the order of when those paradumas were made, and concluding with a prayer, which is not the Rambam style. But the answer, says the Rebbe, the Rambam is teaching is over here halacha, that whenever we have an opportunity to pray for Mashiach's revelation, we must do so. And therefore the Rambam, when he talks about the fact that Mashiach will do the tent, he does a prayer for the coming of Mashiach. So let's all join in the prayer of the Rambam. We should already see the 10th Paraduma. By the way, there are plenty of them available in the world these days. Kosher calves waiting to be offered. So may this happen today on this Shabbos. We will all be with Mashiach in the Beis HaMikdash. Shabbat Shalom.